we are headed to Detroit, where 97.1 The Ticket used to be his home. Locked On Detroit, also doing the Lions podcast. He's also working down in Dallas right now, 105.3 The Fan. He's the up-and-comer. More importantly, Jake Riepma, who's joining us now. Jake, you don't mind if I read this text out loud, do you?
Sure, go right ahead. I will say, though, fair warning, we had a blast the last time on. It's different now, guys. I'm grieving. I am angry. I am in denial. I might lash out. So go ahead. Read the text.
Yeah, so 521 yesterday. A+ hire for the Bears. 3 exclamation points. As a Lions fan, Ben Johnson plus Caleb Williams scares me. So why don't we just start there? I think we should start with Jake. Why does it scare you, Jake? Why are the Bears like, I don't know. I mean, 85 was sweet, but like winning 3 Super Bowls in a row would be even sweeter.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And listen, I hope this puts the pressure on the Bears a little bit, because what he did and the transformation he made with Jared Goff and the tools that he had in the background and the tools that he was able to help meet their highest performances is really the mold that's there for the Bears right now. And that's what scares me about it. The offensive genius, Ben Johnson, stepping in with the tools of Caleb Williams and that supporting cast at his disposal. I don't see why it won't work. And I think some of the onus might be on the organization and on the players and on the team as a whole, because look, it didn't happen overnight with Dan Campbell. There were some growing years and some growing pains in those early years with Dan Campbell. And so if it doesn't happen right away, sure, you got to be a little bit patient. But I've believed since day one that Ben Johnson is the next up and coming guy. He is the guy you want leading your staff. And he is a home run hire in every sense of the word. And for all the Detroit fans, I think the outcry and the agony of realizing that we're losing Ben Johnson speaks to that. I mean, this is a guy that took an anemic offense and put them in top 5 statistical categories in every major statistical category for 3 years in a row. This is an offense that nearly set a record for the most touchdowns, top in scoring offense in his 3 years as an offensive coordinator. And on top of that, there's the creativity. There's the diversity in the way he utilizes those weapons. It checks every single box if you think of how this Bears team can take the next step.
So, Jake, I mean, I certainly get it. I can't imagine a rougher 48, 72 hours, whatever it's been since Saturday night. In all seriousness, for the Lions fan base, that's it's one thing to lose a game you weren't expecting to lose, but then to lose. I think you guys knew Ben Johnson was probably gone, but didn't know how fast it would happen, or it's like. Can we at least get through the grieving phase for a couple days before our division rival steals them away? I guess, can you kind of summarize? We've been living in Bears land here, but I've seen like bits and pieces of some outrage from Lions fans here and there, like that have completely turned on Ben Johnson. How much of that is real? How much of that's just reactionary right now? Or is this really going to be viewed like like he's some big traitor within the division? And by the way, I kind of hope it does. Because we need more rivalries, like real rivalries in this town, and that would be super cool.
No, I was hoping you guys would ask me this, because there's 2 ways to attack this whole premise and this subject. Is A, yes, there absolutely are fans turning on him, calling him Benedict Johnson, and all of the outcry and the hate spewing towards him. Listen, it's not me, but it's what Lions fans are doing, and it kind of makes me chuckle in the sense that there's a lot of Lions fans that are really telling on themselves that they don't understand how it works. And a lot of it is because the Lions haven't been in this position in a really long time, maybe not ever, where other teams around the National Football League are envying your coordinators and what you're doing. And this is uncharted waters. And the way a lot of Lions fans are handling it and spewing out that hate towards Ben Johnson is just a testament to the fact that we haven't been here before and we don't know how to handle it. But for me personally, look, it's a business. It's the National Football League. He earned this. He was so good at being an offensive coordinator in Detroit that he could help, in a way, handpick where he ended up as a head coach. We saw it last year with him turning down the job with the Commanders. Now look what happened with the Commanders. Maybe he'd be rethinking that if he could do it all over again. But that being said, I do think there's an element of it happening so fast and within a divisional rival that feeds to that. And this is part of what I told Mark yesterday is, look, I'm not rooting for the guy, and it sucks and it hurts and it's, salt in the wound. It's a divisional rival, but this is how it works in the National Football League. And I don't wish him the best by any means, but if I had to bet on him, yeah, I'm betting on Ben Johnson to turn things around in Chicago because the track record is there. And I think it will fuel a rivalry. And I think it will almost, rejuvenate a rivalry if the Bears can and hold up their end of the bargain. And if the Lions can continue to put out a product there that is competing for divisional championships. And yeah, let's do it. Let's roll up the sleeves and let's have a good NFC North rivalry that is restored with really good offense, really good teams. And it sounds like a lot of fun, and may the best team win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was a lot of Lions fans. I went to the game at Soldier Field this year. There were a lot of Lions fans there, and I'm more than willing to fight every one of you in the South Tunnel if I have to, and you're included in that, Jake, and I like you, but that's just how it's going to have to go moving forward.
Maybe this was revenge. George was mad that the Lions fans took over Soldier Field. Yeah. This was the revenge.
This is definitely his revenge.
Should be giving this sweet to our guy Derek Stevens. That was a bad move.
All the fans chanting "sell the team." He's like, "All right, I'll drop $15 million on your head for a year for a head coach." But Jake, as we said, I think at this point it's an understanding of how great of an offensive coach Ben Johnson is, how he can call plays, how he can get the most out of your quarterback and your offense. But the things I'm starting to hear, the term he's a red ass, was told by my good buddy Tom Waddle, from some of the reporting he's heard from your side of things. Dan Skipper, the offensive lineman, said you'll get dog cussed on the sidelines if you're too close to him. So those are the things I'm curious about, because just from a culture perspective, it just seems like the guys in Detroit certainly hold each other accountable. And so I'm trying to understand how much of that Ben Johnson can carry over here into Chicago where it's sorely needed.
Yeah, and I think the receptive nature of that can only time will tell, because it's certainly out there, and everything that you've heard, I've heard as well. And I think it's a little bit different when you're winning and you've got Dan Campbell leading the way and everybody is, to use a cliche, quote unquote, bought in. And so if the Chicago Bears are in a position where, hold on, who's this guy yelling at me and dog cussing me and being a red ass if he hasn't, quote unquote, earned that. My thought is, and this is just how I would think of it, as there's a reason we're bringing this guy in. We need to change. Let's have someone hold us accountable. Maybe what he's selling, I'm buying, and maybe that'll work. And I think, I don't know the history up and down of the Chicago Bears, but I certainly know enough to know that perhaps that is needed, and a change of direction is needed. And that's why you're in this situation in the first place. And if you have to have a guy that's played in the league and have that credibility factor on paper, Ben Johnson doesn't have that. This is a guy who scored a 36 on his ACT and was, both his parents were math teachers and he studied computer science. So if that deems him uncredible, and then he goes out and conducts himself in a manner that you just alluded to, and you see that as problematic, then again, I think all of those intangibles are there with Ben Johnson, and how it translates as a head coach is going to be, captivating stuff that obviously everybody in the NFC North will have their eyes on. And with you guys it being right there in your backyard, I think everybody's going to have the popcorn out. And again, this is not me trying to buy Ben Johnson. He doesn't need me to buy him anytime, but I do think expecting it to work on day one is setting yourself up for a little bit of disappointment. And I would think that Bears fans have been through enough that he'll get a little bit of a runway, a little bit of a grace period. And then the dynamic with Ryan Poles and personnel, which I'm sure we'll get into, but that's a whole nother component of this hire. Is a lot of the other opportunities Ben Johnson was rumored to be pursuing had that the notion of being able to start fresh and pick your GM, pick your personnel and that sort of things. And that's just not the case with the situation in Chicago. So I'm intrigued to see how that'll play out as well.
Jake, I wish we had more time today. We'll have to get you back on sometime soon. But before we let you go, I want to ask you about the staff. I know what I would love to see is Hank Fraley somehow make the jump too. I know I can see that face already, and I saw the quotes coming out of that locker room with some of the offensive linemen that were basically like, we're going to kidnap him and not let him leave. What can you tell us, if anything, about like how he's viewed as a possible OC replacement there? He got interviewed by Seattle too. So I would think like the best way to keep him in Detroit would be to give him play calling duties, but I don't know enough about, can he handle that versus an OC title here in Chicago, where he'd probably be more like the offensive line coach who just has an OC title, where Ben Johnson's really still calling the shots.
Right. It's kind of a similar conversation you have with Ben Johnson is, what does that next step look like where you're taking on a new set of responsibilities? And I too, you talk about a weekend from hell. Every headline I read is just my franchise's window of opportunity crumbling before my eyes with Hank Fraley, getting an interview with Seattle. And I think the continuity of that staff, even add Mark Brunell, the quarterback coach, into that, is part of why they were so successful. And so with Fraley, I hope, and again, selfishly, Detroit guy, big surprise here, I hope they kidnap him and that ownership shells out to provide a payday so that he has the motivation and the incentive to stay with the Detroit Lions. But I worry that when it rains, it pours, and this snowball moving down the mountain of Lions coordinators, Lions offensive staff on their way out might be the harsh reality that I'll just have to figure out how to deal with.
Jake Riepma, man, you're awesome. Well, like I said, we'll have to get you on again soon to have a little bit more, of a longer conversation. But appreciate your insight the last couple weeks, jumping on with us to give us the Lions perspective and condolences at the same time for what's transpired since Saturday night.
Just so you know, Jake, the bad boys flag behind you bothers me to the end of the earth. So, we'll have to talk about that another time.
Hey, Go Cats. I hit you with the Go Cats. We can cheat out every game, but whatever. Hey, always a pleasure, guys. We'll do it again.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.
We all silly like the mayor.